The FBI, U.S. Marshals, SWAT teams, and local law enforcement raided a home in Fort Wayne a couple hours ago.
At precisely 4 o'clock in the morning, the Pentagon's command center burst into life with crimson warning indicators. A singular, persistent signal emanated from deep within the Mexican wilderness. Upon the enormous electronic display, this transmission confirmed what countless months of secret monitoring had at last verified: a facility worth billions of dollars, operated by drug cartels and concealed beneath thick forest cover, protected by numerous armed guards. For extended periods, they had trusted that the wilderness rendered them undetectable. However, the United States had located them. At this moment, Mexico is expressing outrage. How did America discover their concealed operation? And might this bold assault trigger a perilous diplomatic crisis? Before we explore how this operation developed, ensure you like and subscribe, because what you are about to witness may alter your perspective on America's struggle for protection. Within moments, high-ranking commanders faced the most crucial determination: which warplane would execute America's initial assault. The command center fell quiet. The selection was critical, with two symbols illuminated on the screen. One depicted the F-22 Raptor, the unseen specter of American aerial dominance, famous for stealth capabilities. The alternative indicated the F-15E Eagle II, a dual-engine behemoth carrying devastating armament. Commanders considered the selection thoroughly. The F-22 could move undetected, attack with precision accuracy, and disappear before adversaries realized its presence. However, its compact weapon compartments and restricted capacity rendered it unsuitable for a stronghold constructed from concrete and reinforced metal. The cartel's wilderness complex was an industrial facility spanning multiple acres. Its underground passages and fortifications were constructed to withstand everything except complete annihilation. The F-15 Eagle II possessed no such limitations. It could transport the heaviest fortification-destroying ordnance in the United States inventory, penetrate defenses with electronic disruption, and obliterate everything beneath it in one conclusive attack. By 230 hours, the determination was reached. The F-15 aircraft chosen. This operation was not about concealment. It was about delivering a direct, unmistakable statement. The F-15 assault would arrive with undeniable intensity, creating enormous craters that would leave the cartel with absolute certainty about American determination. Success in this situation demanded being observable. Ultimately, the F-15's substantial fuel reserves made it the sole weapon capable of sustaining the hundreds of miles necessary to penetrate deep, eliminate multiple structures, and return without incident. Type F-15 in the comments if you support the selection, and hit that like for America's aerial superiority. The determination to deploy the F-15 was reached. However, locating the billion-dollar objective was merely the initial portion of the challenge. The wilderness stronghold had been built with one paramount objective: permanent concealment. American intelligence, nevertheless, was resolved to expose it. Before sunrise, the U-2 ascended to its maximum altitude of 70,000 feet. From that elevation, its surveillance equipment could observe across boundaries without penetrating them, able to distinguish license plates, capture cellular transmissions, and detect the slightest electronic emissions. The cartel's stronghold, which had remained untouched for 3 years, was about to surrender its invisibility. Extended periods of overhead photography initially disclosed nothing except thick green vegetation. The tension mounted until intelligence officers detected a faint yet distinctive irregularity, a subtle, persistent luminescence beneath the forest canopy. This was the manufacturing heat indication of chemical refinement machinery, the revealing signature of fentanyl manufacturing that orbital platforms identified in brilliant crimson. The cartel had concealed effectively, but they had neglected the single element they could not mask: thermal energy escaping into the darkness above. That solitary heat pattern initiated a cascade of secret missions. Elite military personnel, disguised as ordinary travelers, moved along distant ridge paths, installing chemical detectors that captured the subtle, unpleasant scents carried by air currents. Concealed listening devices recorded the constant drone of power generators, verifying industrial-level operations. Gradually, methodically, the stronghold revealed itself. Transport vehicles halted miles distant, moving cargo to pack animals to circumvent roadways. Armed sentries marched in recurring, foreseeable cycles. Movement detectors and heat-sensing cameras monitored every entrance. 6 months of continuous observation charted every guard post, every fortification, and every manufacturing facility. NSA systems decoded the cartel's secured transmissions in hours, capturing conversations that outlined timetables and cargo movements. Intelligence officers constructed schematics so accurate that aviators could recognize specific structures from recall. Intelligence was no longer the obstacle. Implementation was the essential inquiry that now dominated Washington was straightforward. Would the White House authorize an assault this far into independent foreign land? Would the administration accept provoking a global controversy and potentially violating global regulations to neutralize this solitary existential danger? Within the Oval Office, President Trump examined overhead photographs distributed across the Resolute desk. The Attorney General cautioned of substantial legal consequences. President Trump gazed directly at his counselors, dismissing legal cautions and political exposure. His tone was frigid and absolute. They are manufacturing chemical weapons directly at our boundary, contaminating our youth. I am no longer concerned with vague diplomatic protocols. They will discover precisely what occurs when they confront the United States of America. With that statement, the discussion was conclusively finished. With one authorization, the cartels were redesignated. They were no longer simple criminal syndicates. They were formally classified as foreign terrorist organizations. This crucial designation released the complete overwhelming force of American military capability. The operational parameters had transformed permanently. However, there remained the inescapable obstacle of Mexico. Openly, the Mexican president condemned any American assault as an infringement of independence. But a significant contradiction surfaced. Intelligence administrators expanded collaboration, distributing silent orbital feeds with the CI. The Mexican protection apparatus understood the danger this facility represented. The influence initiative from Washington intensified further, supported by the genuine possibility of devastating tariffs, 25% on hundreds of billions of dollars in commerce. If Mexico refused to eliminate the networks, the financial deadline was approaching. Mexico responded with an astonishing political maneuver. In a solitary extraordinary evening, 29 principal cartel commanders were transported onto aircraft and extradited to the United States. Among them was Rafael Caro Cano, a designation that had troubled DEA recollection since 1985. Extraditions that previously required years now occurred in hours. Mexico had purchased time but not protection. By evening, Washington's determination was final. The secured transmission flashed across Pentagon systems. Operation Iron Shadow approved. Show appreciation for America's accuracy. Hit like, submit a comment, and subscribe if you stand behind this strategy. The planning chamber had no openings, only a rotating three-dimensional chart that transformed the Sinaloa ridges into a network of ravines, strategic positions, and vulnerable areas. Charts on the wooden table portrayed the cartel's wilderness stronghold not as an enigma. 6 months of intelligence had eliminated every obscurity, designating every thermal source, concrete barrier, and generator compartment. Colonel Martinez positioned over it, outlining a path that would never be discussed outside those barriers. 12 F-15 E-Strike Eagles were allocated to the mission, each a flying stronghold transporting 2 GBU-39 small-diameter ordnances and equipped with sophisticated interference equipment. The weapon selection was intentional, compact enough for accuracy, destructive enough to demolish reinforced fortifications, and eliminate the compound's foundation. The aircraft would assault in synchronized formations, staggered to strike separate targets within moments of each other. Concurrent detonations engineered to provide no opportunity for coordinated reaction. Tension increased as ultimate contingencies were examined. What if Mexican detection captured the squadron? What if the atmospheric conditions changed? Cancellation protocols were explicit. Aviators would withdraw with armaments unexpended rather than endanger civilian lives. There would be no additional opportunities. At midnight, the ultimate mission preparation began. Atmospheric conditions were advantageous. Heat signatures verified complete operations within the cartel installation, and sentry cycles were maintaining foreseeable configurations. It was the opportunity everyone had anticipated. At 0300 hours, maintenance personnel loaded the SDBs, refueled the aircraft completely, and secured the access points. Each pilot authorized classified records acknowledging the exceptional hazards. Communication devices went silent. Transmissions locked down. Confidentiality became total. By 3:30 Already, propulsion systems ignited. The 12 F-15E Strike Eagles moved onto the airstrip and ascended into the frigid nocturnal atmosphere. The operation had commenced. The initial aircraft elevated into the dark atmosphere, then another, then 10 additional. Their afterburners created subtle metallic paths across the skyline before dissolving into atmospheric cover. They ascended high, then descended low, following the mountain formations that bordered the Mexican frontier. Ground tracking detection guided every elevation. At 3:40 hours, the squadron crossed the invisible boundary dividing territories. Mexico's detection displays flickered once, then disrupted completely. The F-15's electronic countermeasure system saturated regional frequencies with phantom traces, generating the appearance of numerous aircraft dispersed across the territory. Surface witnesses observed nothing, only the motionless wilderness, unaware that destruction was moments distant. Within the primary aircraft, the identification equipment secured onto luminous white formations beneath the forest cover. The thermal screens disclosed the pulsing center of the stronghold, generator compartments, chemical containers, and the primary manufacturing fortification. The aviator's transmission interrupted the extended quiet. Objective verified. GPS secured solid T-3 minutes. The wilderness stronghold radiated ominously on heat displays. Power generators hummed. Sentries monitored. Chemical containers simmered, all ignorant of the steel plummeting upon them. T-2 minutes. The primary aviator's identification apparatus verified. GPS secured. Coordinates aligned flawlessly. Every solitary ordnance was prepared. T-1 minute. The directive arrived over the restricted channel. Execute, execute, execute. 24 GBU-39 ordnances released quietly from their mounts, descending through the atmosphere at maximum velocity. No warnings, no alerts, just steel plummeting through the darkness. At 4 hours, 5 minutes and 16 seconds, the initial explosion erupted. Chemical containment reservoirs burst into towering orange explosions, illuminating the forest cover with manufactured brightness. The facility's center instantly combusted. Flames leapt upward as subterranean fortifications collapsed inward under the impact of the penetrating weapons. The subsequent formation struck moments later. 6 precision detonations across reinforced concrete. The atmosphere transformed into a reflection of combustion. Reservoirs fractured. Fuel conduits combusted, and a column of flame burst 300 feet into the atmosphere. Power generators detonated one after another in domino effect. Sleeping quarters and observation posts folded inward like parchment. Underground fortifications collapsed, sealing everything within 5 seconds. That is all it required for decades of cartel investment, infrastructure, and destructive potential to disappear into combustion and debris. In the distance, cartel radio communication erupted. Survivors screamed through secured channels. They understand where we are. Fear propagated like wildfire. Transport groups scattered. Protected locations emptied. The illusion of superiority had been destroyed in a solitary, precise assault. Mexican detection located the squadron only after the explosions commenced. Too late. By then, the F-15s were already ascending back toward American territory. The wilderness below combusted, a mark carved permanently into cartel chronicles. The wilderness still combusted below as the F-15s ascended, their propulsion systems thundering quietly toward American territory. Tension remained heavy in the command chamber. What would Mexico do at this moment? What would the Globe say when Sunrise disclosed the remains of a billion-dollar narcotic operation? At precisely 5:00 o'clock in the morning, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum received the crisis communication no administrator desired to hear. Intelligence administrators verified what detection operators already understood. American aircraft had penetrated the boundary and left behind combusting craters where a cartel operation once existed. The assaults were precise, but the diplomatic destruction was substantial. In Mexico City, the administration erupted. The president assembled in crisis gathering, vowing to protect independence. The diplomatic representative summoned the United States ambassador within the hour, requesting a clarification. Recording devices flashed. Journalists demanded, was this an action of warfare? One inquired, but Washington said nothing. The Pentagon declined statement. Behind restricted entrances, the account was drastically different. Military strategists examined orbital photographs streaming in. Administrators quietly recognized a significant sense of comfort. One of the most extensive fentanyl facilities in the region was eliminated, erased by United States accuracy. The open objection was diplomatic performance. The confidential evaluation was often appreciation. Within cartel channels, disorder dominated. Secured radios crackled with fear. Survivors screamed coordinates that no longer remained. Transport groups scattered. Leaders abandoned protected locations. And cargo was directed combusted before they could be monitored. The organization's command disappeared, some escaping toward the shoreline, others vanishing into the wilderness. For the initial occasion in years, their system went dark. For decades, cartels trusted geography was their protection. Thick wilderness, isolated ravines, strengthened installations. At this moment, that deception had been combusted away in less than 10 seconds of American firepower. International reaction followed rapidly. Global witnesses characterized the mission as a historic precedent. The initial occasion, a United States frontline combat aircraft had been utilized directly against a cartel objective on foreign territory. Partners in Europe and Asia examined the assault thoroughly, observing how sophisticated electronic countermeasures, observation, and accuracy bombardment had been integrated into a solitary, seamless mission. Military intelligence officers characterized it as a presentation of overwhelming dominance, a model situation of prevention. The mental influence may have been superior than the material destruction. Cartel commanders, long familiar to confronting authorities and opposition organizations, suddenly understood they were facing an opponent with orbital observation, concealment abilities, and assault capabilities able to demolish strengthened installations in moments. The statement was unmistakable: cross the boundary and the complete force of American aerial dominance will descend. And as combustion drifted over the mountains, one statement was explicit on both territories of the frontier. The period of cartel superiority was finished. Comment justice if you endorse the operation or overreach, if you believe it went too far, and do not forget and subscribe. The devastating capability of the F-15 had conclusively transformed the equilibrium of dominance. 2 seconds of concentrated armament had achieved what years of conventional enforcement initiatives could not. The instruction drawn from the combusting ground was explicit and absolute. The conflict against the cartel operations has entered a different period. The cartels had incorrectly trusted that isolation, thick wilderness, and strengthened concrete were their absolute defenses. They were incorrect. The United States had demonstrated that when sophisticated observation technology, superior electronic countermeasure potential, and exact accuracy firepower are integrated, there is nowhere remaining to conceal. This assault was not simply a material success. It was a significant mental one, etching permanent fear into the formations of the adversary. This was a presentation of overwhelming American dominance, a frigid caution issued to any organization that would attempt threaten our boundaries. We will pursue dangers to the extremities of the globe, and we will employ every instrument necessary to secure our protection. The diplomatic and military agreement was total. The regulations have been transformed. The struggle is no longer restricted by boundaries or diplomacy. It is characterized by determination and devastating potential. This shocking occurrence has transformed the regulations, but the genuine inquiry is directed at you. Do you trust that such conclusive and complete assaults are the sole method to ultimately terminate the cartel danger? Or are there alternative productive approaches? Let us understand your considerations in the comments portion below. Did this mission alter how you perceive the struggle for national protection? And if this bold operation affected you, imagine what arrives next. Do not forget to hit subscribe to follow more impactful analyses of military missions transforming the direction of